power rack from a Cavalier 66 Mustang. Wonder if I can make it fit. Stay tuned. Alright, let's get started. What we have here is a rack and pinion power steering for Cavalier early 1990s, 91, 92, somewhere around there. It's what they call a center steer rack, and what it means by that it mounts on the outer edges. This is where it's mounted to, and it rotates from the middle, as you can see. When you rotate it, it turns, so it works great for us. I got to make some brackets for it to mount it. I got to make clamps. I could have got these, but up here I can't find no early 90s Cavaliers to get these brackets off of. Everything's gone, recycled. So I'm going to make a couple. I'm going to use a bit of flat bar that I got here now to make up some of them. I picked up some of these universals in my inventory. I don't know what they're off of, but I think I can make them work. I'm going to try to make them work. I got this D shaft here works on the end of the rack, so I'll see what I can come up with, and I might dig out a few more. If not, I'll buy a couple. I'm trying to see if I can get all this done with just using what I got kicking around. But the first thing I'm going to do now is I'm going to put this in the car, lay it in place, and show you how it's going to work and how I'm going to rig it up. So let's go do that now. So here's a quick mock-up. I got it mounted up on two jack stands. I'm going to have to make a mount over here to go up mount the chassis here, and as well as over here. Now right here in the middle, you can see these 2 points here. That's where you bolt on the rack. As you notice, I have the center link left in the car, but I have it welded on to the cross member in the Mustang. The reason why I did that is because that is now in the center position where it was to on the car, with all the steering box and drag link and everything hooked up to it. And I got it let go, so all is left, as you can see, is just the center link. So I welded it in place just to keep it there so I can do all this mock-up. All that will be removed at a later date, and I'll reuse the factory tie rod ends and all that off of this here piece. This is what will rotate side to side from the center of this here. I'll have to make universals now to go up the mount from here to here on the rack. So it'll give you some idea of how this is all going to work. It's been done in a number of Mustangs. You can buy kits like it now. I've come across a number of Cougars, which is roughly the same front end in them, that have used these racks. Nowadays, every time you look it up, kits for Mustangs, all you see is all the aftermarket stuff, but this is where it all started, using this Cavalier rack. It seems to work out pretty good. The early Mustang racks, they leaked. Getting one, you're going to have to get rebuilt, and it's not a very good venture, and you're talking about a 66 technology. At least now we're up into the 90s with some technology. So I'm going to go ahead now and start making the brackets to mount over here, and start fitting this in there and sizing it all up. So let's get started. Alright, let me show you what I got done. I got these mounted on the rack now, these pieces. This one here is a permanent fixture because it's built into the rack. And this one over here is adjustable, I can move it in and out. But I have it set up out here on this outer edge because I got the distance from here to here figured out on the bottom of the car. And you can see the way I made these braces up. I just bent them up on a flat bar, cut them to width, and drilled the holes in them and set it up. And then I took a piece of 1x2 and cut it in half. I wanted to have some strength structure here because I didn't want it to actually fold here in the middle when you tighten it up and have it bend up, so I put some strength to it. And all I did then is just welded 2 nuts on the back side of it so I can thread it up through so I can box all this in permanent and not have to worry about getting a wrench on the back side of it because it'll just unbolt from there. It's a simple setup. And I've after trimming off the bottoms here for clearance issues on the bottom of the car, just so there's just enough room. It's just enough room there for the nut to grab. I'll replace all these nuts and everything now with new bolts and new nuts and whatever, new bolts, sorry. Later on, these are just ones I had kicking around just so I can piece it together. I'll have to make up this bracket now later on, but I'm going to go ahead now and I'm going to fit this in the car and show you how I have it set up and where it's going to go. Alright, after many attempts, fitting it in, taking it out, fitting it in, trimming it, making sure it's centered, measuring once, measuring twice, checking for clearances for different things. I think I have it figured out what I'm doing with it. I got it mounted in here now. I'm going to show you from this angle over here. The way I got it set up, you can see over there now I got a bracket made. It's just clamped onto the inner structure. I'm going to weld that on over here. I'm going to weld that on. And I'll end up bracing that all up and doing that with that. And over here, I'm underneath the rail. I'll get down underneath and show you what I got done there. I had to cut a piece out of the chassis in order to get it to fit up inside of it. Not so much worried about it because I'm going to brace all that up and build it all up, the box and everything. I had some issues I had to be concerned with. One of the issues I had was right here. The tie rod end comes through this way. And I had to make sure that when the tie rod end was bolted in, and this here started moving from side to side, I had clearances here on this here, right? So, and I'm pretty sure I got it there. I'll double check that, make sure I got the clearances. And I also had to be concerned with the distance. I measured up the distance from this mount to the transmission on the back of the motor. And I had about 10.5 inches, which is roughly about right here. So I do have enough room on the back side for clearances on that. And I also had to make sure that I was basically even with the center link in that is a small bit higher. I may lower it a small bit because I don't want to have no issues with it to hit the bottom of the base pan. But it's now I'm going to clean everything up down there, and I'm going to tack weld the brackets in place with her two, and then I'm going to start bracing it all in. But before it does that, I'm going to show you what it looks like underneath. Alright, there's another issue I had to keep an eye on. I wanted to keep the rack above the cross member, and I think I'm pretty good there now, the way that is. But you can see in here what I had to do up here. I had to cut that section of the frame rail out, so this little box that I made would fit up inside the rail. I'll close all in and reinforce all that after the fact. And like over here you can see where I just got it clamped down, temporary. And I wanted to make sure that this section here was above the rail here. Trying to avoid it bottoming out on anything if possible. And so I think that's basically where I'm going to keep it to. I'm going to take it out now and clean everything up and then refit it again. And I'm going to tack weld that brace in and that brace in over there, and take it all apart and start boxing it all in. And on to the next part. Wasn't that a lot of fun? A couple of attempts, but I got it. The first time I put it in, I come to realize it wasn't centered. It was 7/8 of an inch to the driver's side more, so I had to cut the driver's side bracket off. Lucky for me, this bracket over here just slides on this pipe, so I didn't have to move that bracket. This bracket over here, I had to move. So I got that all straightened away, and going through a number of issues, I figured you got issues with the start motor over here, base pan here, transmission back here, and then you got exhaust over here, and then I had issues with this line. So I said to myself, well, I better check into all that and measure it all up, and I made up this little wire that there simulates the bottom of the base pan. So when you're looking across there, I don't know if you can see it there, yeah, you can see that it passes over the top of it, so I haven't got no problems with that. Clearance is on the base pan. Start motor is roughly the same position, so that's okay. The transmission pan, or the transmission itself, let me get up here. Transmission is roughly about here where it starts, where the plate starts. I figure it's exhaust, because this is going to be coming this way here. Exhaust will be passing down through here. So there is no issues. I got clearances on this, lots of clearances on for the bolt to come through, and the nut. It only sticks out, say, you can imagine, probably about that much. So it clears all this part of it here. I may have to bend these lines a small bit for clearances, but I'm not too concerned about them. I'll just bend them up because I think that's a bit close to that one, so I may just tweak it up so it passes it. Because this bar here is going to rotate with this, which is going to, these are going to be stationary, these lines, and this bar is going to move back and forth with this section here, right? So I got it all. You can see where I got it done there. That's just a brace. I'm going to close all this in, whole section now, do a tidy job on it, and give it lots of strength there, and reinforce it and triangulate it on the outside and on the front and on the back, and do the same on this side over here, right? So that will be my next job, but that's it. The rack and pinion is mounted. That's where she's going to be. So now I have power steering set up on this car. I just got to get the fittings for this here now to adapt to a Ford power steering pump, and I should be able to figure that out. So next thing now is to reinforce them plates. So I'm going to haul the rack out of her now and get that done.